with Thomas Partey finally returning for Arsenal, a lot of people have been very quick to criticise his performances since coming back, but I believe there is still a very good player in there and he could become vital for Arsenal in the remaining months of the season, and this is why. So far Thomas Partey has came back and he has been involved in 4 games for Arsenal. He played a minute against Brentford, 25 against Sheffield, 24 against Man City and 67 starting against Luton. And now he has been a little bit rusty in these games, but I think that's perfectly acceptable considering he has been out for about 6 months, and even before that he had many injury problems. Now on his best day and him playing very well level, he could definitely be a player that is similar to a mix of Jorginho and Declan Rice. He can push forward with the ball and he can also do really good long passing from deep while also being quite a short tackler. But on his worst day I would say he's nowhere near the level of either of them and sometimes gets lost where the ball is, and sometimes you get a different player depending on when Thomas Partey wants to turn up or not. Now in my opinion Thomas Partey can be great at numerous amounts of roles, but I prefer him in space and picking the ball up from deep. He can even be able to drive with it up the pitch, helping Arsenal get up the pitch easier and quicker, or he could do a really good pass through like Granit Xhaka used to, putting the ball over the top for some players. And I also like him arriving at the edge of the box when Arsenal are attacking. He has got a good shot even though he does definitely take way too many long shots. He can dictate play and is very good when players are around him as well. He's good in tight areas and can help people with good defensive tackles and awareness while also putting the ball out wide, which he loves to do. This is something obviously that Jorginho does in the team consistently, but Jorginho probably doesn't have the mobility that Partey does on a good day. And you can tell he's very influential even with him coming back. I know we were playing Luton, but in the 67 minutes that he played, he got 75 touches on the ball and made 62 accurate passes. Now this was out of 67 passes, getting a 93% completion, and it seems to me like he missed most of his passes when he actually tried to do long balls, having 1 out of 4 accurate long balls, but this is not necessarily too bad. A lot of the times he was putting the ball over the defenders into the channel. Sometimes people like Nelson didn't have the pace or strength to get there, and eventually the ball dropped down for a second ball for Arsenal anyway, and it pushed Arsenal up the pitch against Luton, where Luton are realistically going to give the ball back to Arsenal very quickly, so it's okay to risk this in this sort of game and sort of play him and try and risk these long passes. But in this game I still think I saw a great level of Thomas Partey passing it from deep through the middle into the attacking creative players. He likes putting the ball through the middle, through a couple of defenders to Odegaard, who's usually still quite deep but not as deep as Partey, and then he can bring the ball forward and pass it even further forward, making the midfield not necessarily useful in that sense. Although Arsenal had obviously a lot of the ball against Luton, sometimes it could be hard to pick balls that really make a difference when Luton is so far back, and a lot of the time I think Thomas Partey couldn't get them opportunities to do that, and with the amount of midfielders we had in there, it sort of left it to someone else. But in the end I still think his passing was still a very good level in this game. He made 4 passes into the final third, so he is still trying to get the ball up there. I really like his movement with the interchange when he comes into the middle when Havertz comes deeper. This is something that's going to probably help us in the future. If he can keep making sure he does that movement, pushing up with the team in a passing sequence, I think it makes it a lot better, because while Jorginho is really good at doing that, he's not going to be as mobile and probably just going to pass it and stand in a close enough area. And although Arsenal have had a great acceptance of passes in the middle this season, I don't think Thomas Partey would definitely be a detriment, and he would definitely help with his brilliant passing stats. As before, when he was playing consistently, he was attempting 76 passes per game with a 90% completion, which is very high considering he definitely tries a lot of long balls. But he more importantly was making around 9 progressive passes per 90, really helping the ball go through the middle to people like Martin Odegaard who could dictate with the play. Now with Odegaard coming deeper, he might not have to make as many passes as this anymore. It's still definitely an important asset to have, especially when you're trying to find a goal late on if you need to just lump the ball up or get Odegaard in an elevated position. And this is also backed up by the fact he makes 2.5 progressive carries per 90 as well, which is a lot for a defensive midfielder. He is picking the ball up and running past players, which obviously is always going to be helpful. So we don't need Martin Odegaard to always come back and help. We could also play a double pivot and Partey could be the guy that runs through. Obviously it's very risky, but I think with the adaptation of Declan Rice being there, it gives him a lot more mobility and a sweeper in there that can also do the defensive work and more importantly the tackles that Thomas Partey may or may not do. And this is the thing with Thomas Partey, we know on the ball fundamentally he is probably going to be decent enough. He's going to make good passes or good decisions, and he's a really good passer anyway. He can pick out great passes and run with the ball. It's just off the ball is which is the real issue for Arsenal right now. Arsenal press very intensely. They have a lot of good presses in there, and even their midfielders like Declan Rice are very vital towards that. Now people like Jorginho not necessarily, but Jorginho always has to be close enough to Declan Rice, Odegaard and Havertz to make sure that he can make the tackles and be involved in play. The issue with Thomas Partey is since he's come back, I know you can say he's rusty, is that he hasn't necessarily been that good at doing this. He's not very good at reading the play as much as he was, and he doesn't make enough tackles and interceptions. Now in the game against Luton, he made 1 interception, 2 defensive actions and 4 recoveries, and I'll lift this off for him because it is Luton Town and they're not going to attack and want the ball as much. But often, a lot of the time, it seems off the ball his athleticism really struggled and he couldn't really keep up with the play, which we could also put down to rustiness, definitely, but we're going to need this to kick into gear soon if he's going to be a big vital player for this team. And he needs to be like the Thomas Partey of old, being very aggressive, trying to win the ball back at any means necessary and getting a lot of duels. Against Luton, he only had 2 duels and he lost them both, but we could put that down to the fact that Luton aren't really a duel heavy team. But he needs to be fighting in there. He needs to be one of the members that helps Declan Rice win the ball back, and it's not just all him, because if he can do that, he can be a better player than Jorginho in there for us, because he's probably nearly the same level as passing, and I still think his passing's a very good level, but he's also very smart. He can run forward because he is a lot faster and he's a lot more of an aggressive player, which obviously could definitely help Arsenal going into the future. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to dismiss Jorginho, because I still think he deserves that spot, and people are saying that Thomas Partey is a way better player, and yeah, he was 2 years ago when he showed that, but we haven't seen a high level from Thomas Partey in years, if that's through injury or that's through him not being ready yet. But you still can't necessarily rely on someone that still didn't have an outstanding performance even against Luton, so I can't see Thomas Partey starting any games soon, but I expect him to get more and more into the squad, and by the end of the season hopefully he'll be well enough to actually start a few games, because he can be an elite player for this side still. I've dismissed him in the past and I don't think he's anywhere near the level of someone like Declan Rice, but I think Thomas Partey can be very vital next to Declan Rice if he is deeper actually in his position rather than playing right back. Give him the ball from deep and let him pass out everywhere he wants, and hopefully he can continue and remain to be one of them great players on the ball that can run through many players. He just needs to be more aggressive, and off the ball he needs to make better decisions, cutting down lines a lot more, being a lot quicker to get back when we need him to. If not, we may have to put him into a reserved role such as Jorginho has, or he might only have to play it against teams lower caliber like the Luton Towns and the Sheffields. But he can be a very disciplined player in his positioning and can also protect the back line. He's done it really well before, and now with Declan Rice arguably he could protect it even more. But is that necessarily what Arsenal need right now? I'm not sure, because his defence is already a very high level. But it'd be definitely nice to see Thomas Partey get a bit more of a run out and a bit more of a games, and I still think he can be a very important player to Arsenal for the rest of the season. I'm not sure if he'll still be here going into next season, but that's obviously something that I can't really sort out. Let me know what you guys think about Thomas Partey, and do you think he can be a good player still for Arsenal, and do you think he deserves more game time? Were you impressed by his performance against Luton and think it's down to rustiness, but the more he plays he will get better? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, please go watch my video yesterday where I talk about Arsenal's record breaking run they're on right now, and if not, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.